So my name is Melissa. I'm the owner of Boudoir by Lawler, and my background is actually based in me doing modeling. I modeled through college, and so that's how I got started in everything. After that, I went into advertising for a Gothic jewelry company. That's actually how I met Danny. And doing all of that, I worked with a lot of photographers, a lot of models, and I slowly started doing that and changing what I wanted to do into photography. So I started working with families and couples, and I think that's where a lot of us tend to start. You know, you practice and you pull people that you can, and you just kind of go with it. You learn things that worked and didn't. And one thing that I always wanted to get back to was doing boudoir, because I did boudoir when I was doing modeling in college. And I loved it because at the time I dealt with a lot of body dysmorphia. And so boudoir really helped me, and modeling in general really helped me see what I actually looked like. And I work really hard to give that to my clients now. So that's how I ended up doing boudoir and really just loving what I do. So I am a boudoir photographer, and my style is very dark and moody. And if you're wondering what boudoir is kind of an intimate portraiture. So I go in and I take images, usually a lot of women in lingerie, anything that makes them feel really sexy and comfortable, but it doesn't have to be women. You know, I've photographed men, I've photographed, various types of people. And it's really an art of making the general public kind of fall in love with themselves. So that's how I like to say it. I like to say that I want people to come in and really refine that love for their body type, for what they actually have, and really find that confidence. And so it's my job doing boudoir to highlight the things that you love and even soften and make you fall in love with the things that maybe you don't love about yourself. And I think that boudoir is such a great asset or such a great tool at doing that. Okay. Well, I would say that I've always been interested in photography in some sense. I still remember running around with like a little Polaroid. And for those of you who know what those are, the film is expensive, but yet I still found the money for that somehow. But I loved images of all kinds. I liked capturing a moment, and that always meant something to me. And as I got older, that love for that evolved. So I liked working with people and capturing their moments. And as I got even older, it was like I did modeling, and I was always the model that was asking all of these questions, and I wanted to know the equipment that people were using. And I'm sure that I annoyed many photographers doing that, but I feel like I learned a lot in that way. And now I've chosen boudoir because it allows me to change the way people think about themselves. So, and it doesn't matter who they are, what kind of things they bring to the table, but I love highlighting the moment like an experience for them. And boudoir is an experience. So I'm not just a photographer anymore. I'm not just photographing you. Now I feel like I'm giving you a full experience and a moment in time for you to love yourself. And I get to give you photos that you get to take away and see that and be in that moment forever. Honestly, I work with them just about the way I work with my clients. The biggest difference is going to be that I give more in depth on what my project is that I'm doing. When I use models, it's because I'm looking for their expertise. I want them to kind of help me create new poses, to try out projects that I can definitely bring to my clients. When I work with models, it's going to be, as somebody who used to model myself, I'm really big on consent. So I'm not going to adjust you, just like I wouldn't adjust a client. I'm not going to adjust a model without asking them. And I'm constantly going to be, hey, can I move this? Can I move your hair? Can I do, when you're doing boudoir, it can be incredibly intimate. That might mean adjusting a breast, and in that case, you really, really got to ask. I had a lot of experiences as a model where that choice was not given to me. And I want to make sure that I'm giving that to my models, along with making sure that they're having a really good time. I do find that my models actually send me clients because they're very comfortable with me and they had a really good time and we're laughing and, we're making jokes and they're getting really these great photos. And so for the people in their lives that they know, don't have never modeled a day in their life, they end up telling them about me. And, that's how I get a lot of my clients is word of mouth, not just from my clients, but also from my models. So I make it a very comfortable space for them at all times. I tend to try to find out things personal about them. So a lot of the times when I work with a model, I am in contact with them and I find out a little bit about them. I'm like, hey, so what do you like? What are you into and stuff? And if I don't really get that opportunity, usually when we're looking at outfits and doing all of that stuff, I'm going to find out things that are personal for them. I'm going to ask them about that during the shoot. I'm going to make comments about like, hey, this is be perfect for that husband that's so-and-so named. Or, hey, this is going to look great because you said something about that. And when you get really one-on-one with a model and you actually ask them questions, it's just like any other person. They're just people, you ask somebody something about themselves and you get that connection back and forth and you show that you have an interest in them, then they're going to give you more. They're going to relax around you. They're going to be like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, let me put even more into something because I really like you. You're not going to give something to somebody that you don't really like. You might get paid as a model, but that doesn't mean like you have to go above and beyond. We go above and beyond for the people that make us feel really comfortable and that make us feel like we are in tune with them. And I feel like the extra steps that I take with my models means that I get that from them. There's a lot of models that they've completely told me, they're like, yeah, I've gone in for shoots and, they barely said a word to me. They moved me around. They told me what to do real quick. And then like I was out and I loved this. I have models that have literally found out I was doing projects and they will come back and they're like, I want to do it again. I want to work with you. I want to do all that stuff because they know the comfort level that I'm going to make them feel. They're like, I want to work with Melissa again. And that makes me feel really good because they also will be like, hey, I've had models be like, hey, you've worked with so-and-so and she had a blast. And so I want to work with you too. And so I think treating models like people, I mean, that's just how it is. Treating models just like any other person, but it's in such a more intimate setting sometimes that it's even more important to be really human with them, to be really I want people to be human with me, so give them the same respect. So I think it kind of depends. So in my studio, in my comfort zone and everything, where I am really trying to focus on my clients and my models, it's going to be lighting for me. I shoot in a very dark and moody feel. And so I use lighting. I use natural light. I'm a natural light photographer. And I use it to highlight curves and things like that. And so I will actually shoot with that in mind. Now, if I'm on location somewhere and I'm like, I really love this location, then it's the location. You want to highlight the location. So at that point, yes, I'm still trying to get that same look for my models, but I'm also trying to like really figure out a way to highlight that location and make that light work for me to get both in just right. I'm a natural light photographer, so I basically always think about lighting. I approach lighting as a way of highlighting my clients' bodies. And I approach it as a way of emphasizing the things that they love and softening the things that they don't. I use natural light because it helps me soften things, well, naturally. And that's kind of, but what I really like to play with lighting is to make it soften things as much as possible, because since I work with regular people and my whole goal and everything is to kind of give them back that confidence, I have this trick that I do where I actually will take photos. I get the lighting just right. I do all of that stuff and I flip the camera and I show them exactly what they look like right out of camera. And I've had so many moments of people just being like, oh my God, that's me. And I'm like, yeah, that's lighting. Like that's what I did with just like light and a pose. That's no editing, no nothing. And I think that makes the biggest impact in people's lives. So I tend to prefer shooting in the studio, my studio, but actually I do actually like working on location as well. So I don't have a good answer for that. If it's a really great location, then I'm like location all the way. But, for day-to-day things, I really love my studio. I would say that I shoot quite a few for what I do, being, portraiture. I do about 80 to 100 images. And I usually deliver about 60 images for my clients to look through. From there, there's probably anywhere between 40 to sometimes the whole 60 that they're going to want. But yeah, it's probably about anywhere from 80 to 100 images. So it recently went from being a hobby to actually making a living from it, thanks to my husband and his big push.
How did your husband push you?
Well, I actually my company went through a big layoff and I had not had time to really kind of put in as much time as I wanted into my photography. I was making ends meet. I was kind of doing things, but when it went through the layoff, that was a big push. But he was the one that pushed me to not find another position and to really go for what I had been wanting to do, which is opening this studio and focusing on my photography like full force. I had been taking a lot of time saving up for it, doing all of the background work for it. And so now I get to actually like live it. And it's been really great. He's been an amazing support system for me. And I can't imagine doing it without him. He's been my everything. When I'm tired, he says, keep going. When I really want to do a project and I can't find the time to do it, he's like, we will find the time. We will make things work. We will make ends meet for things. And he's always been that way. And so when I had the opportunity to do this for a living, he was the one that said, you can do this. And I have every bit of faith in you. And it has worked out that way. I've been very blessed in the fact that it has all fallen into place for me. Like most people, via social media a lot, even though social media has not been kind to photographers like us of late. Boudoir and, kink friendly, all those things. It's just fetishes. It has not been very friendly to us. So actually a lot of my clients come from previous clients. So word of mouth has been my biggest thing. People like working with me. They know that I make them very comfortable. Models, like I've said before, I've had models that have actually told their friends about me. I had a model that told their friend that lives in New Hampshire about me. He really, really wanted to have a photo shoot done. And all he cared about was feeling really good and being with somebody that he could trust. And she was like, I know exactly who you need to work with. And he flew in from New Hampshire and he loved it. And he upgraded his packages with me and everything. He didn't even blink twice. He was like, I had an amazing experience and I'm going to be back. So I find that really having a good connection with your models and your clients will get you even further, especially in the environment that we have right now via social media and how, we're kind of being gagged. And so I think that's going to be the way that we find our way out of it. Well, that's a hard one. That's definitely a hard question. I feel like things are going to become even more complicated for us. I think at a higher level when it comes to advertising and editorials and things like that, maybe not quite as much as editorials, but definitely for advertising, AI is going to become such a quick and cheap way for people to get the looks that they want. And I think in general, the public doesn't really care so much about whether those things are AI generated. But, and so I think it's just going to kind of cause that type of photography to die out a little bit, you know? And maybe I'm being really optimistic here because of the people I work with and how I talk to people and stuff. But I find that I think when it comes to other types of work, you know, like certain editorials or working one-on-one with people, families, couples, boudoir, any type of anything of that, I think that it still matters to people, whether it's somebody, you know, actually clicking that camera button. I think where the real problem is going to be is trying to decipher what is real and if somebody actually did click that button. That's where I think the real struggle is going to be, because I think that people in general want to support artists, want to support the people that are actually clicking the button. But we need to find a way to make sure that they can make responsible purchases and they're aware of that. And as AI continues to blur and get better and better and starts to look more and more like our work, then that's going to be the real question, is how do we decipher that? Because if we can't do that, then the people who do care and would like something with humanity to it aren't going to be able to tell the difference, and they aren't going to be able to make a responsible purchase. I think that when you're talking about certain types of photography, like for instance, my boudoir, that is such an intimate thing. I'm not really selling just the pictures. And I feel like people who, you know, do events or do things like that, you know, it's you know, I'm not really selling the pictures. What I'm selling is an experience. I'm giving you a moment. I'm giving you a time in which you've experienced something really great. And I'm giving you photos that make you look back on that. And when you look at those photos, you're back in that moment. And I think that that's what photographers really are. That's why it really matters to be able to tell the difference. That's why it really matters when it comes to people interacting with the general public. I think that it's going to be okay in that aspect. I think certain things are going to become a lot harder, but I think when it comes to people who work with the general public, like I do, it might be okay. I think that it's going to create tools that might make things a little bit easier for us, which is great. Like I said, this is a complex answer, but I think that when people do things like what I do, it's the experience that they're really getting out of it. And the photos are almost secondary because the photos are there to enhance that experience and to remember that. You know, why do you go to an event? Like, it's cool to look at photos at an event and stuff, and you take photos at an event, but it's the experience of the event. And when you look at the photos that you took, even if they were like blurry, crappy photos and stuff with your friends, you know, it takes you back to that. And so I think depending on what genre of photography you're doing, some are going to get hit more than others. And those who are creating prints and stuff and selling those things to the general public, and it's not really an experience, I think we need to work on trying to find a way to show what is AI and what is real. Because I think deep down, we want the humanity. And in general, the public wants the humanity attached to it. But how do we show them that this is human? That's going to be the real question. That's going to be the real battle, is not whether AI can do what we can do. It's more, how can we show people that this isn't AI, that this is us? Because I don't think we're going to be competing with like what AI can do. I think we're going to be competing to make sure that AI doesn't trick people into thinking that there's a humanity behind it.